All right, this is a message about the prophetic timeline, the destruction of Babylon, USA, and the end time events which are going to unfold in the next several years. And previously, I did a message about this and was mistaken. By the way, I'm no prophet of God, and a lot of people picked up the bag of rocks and want to start stoning you if you even take a guess at what these things mean. And so it's very interesting. I think these words are put in here for us to figure out. And the only thing he doesn't talk in my ear. The only thing that I go by is the scripture and the events around me. Same thing that you have at your hands. So previously, I had thought that the Jeremiah 25 passage, the 70 years of when these nations shall serve Babylon, I thought that it kicked off with the United Nations formation in 1942, which would take us to 2012 and the destruction of the United States through nuclear bomb war, which is described. By the way, if you're still not convinced that the United States is Babylon, the end time mystery Babylon in Revelation 18, I'll put a link down below, and you can go listen to some, something like 30 some or 40 videos that I've done about it. We won't cover that here. But anyway, I've come to a new understanding of Jeremiah 25, and then it seems to fit with a bunch of these other prophecies of these days, which were confusing to me before. How many, these different 3.5 year periods and days. So the key to this was the servitude that is talked about in Jeremiah. In Jeremiah 25, it says that these nations, the nations of the world, shall serve the king of Babylon, that being the United States, for 70 years, and it shall come to pass, when the 70 years are accomplished, that I'll punish the king of Babylon and that nation, saith Yahuwah, for their iniquity in the land of the Chaldeans, and make it perpetual desolations. That hasn't happened yet anywhere in the world, not over there in old Babylon, Iraq. It's not perpetual desolations. And it's not perpetual desolations here yet either. What kicks that off, though, is these nations serve. And I looked up the word serve. And it's interesting. Serve is servitude. They're talking about bondage, that these nations will be in bondage to the United States. They'll be tributaries. They have to. So anyway, that was fascinating. I started doing some study and thought, well, at the United Nations, they really weren't tributaries to us. I mean, they're not in slavery or bondage to us. So I did some poking around to find out what was going on, what it might be. And there's quite a few different events that I thought could have kicked this off. Of course, the one I thought previously, which I was in error and mistaken on, is January 1st, 1942, the Arcadia Conference, which was the first United Nations declaration by 26 nations. There's several others, and I came to the conclusion that it's not about the United Nations at all. It's all financial. It's the Bretton Woods Conference. In fact, I asked a friend about this, and he came up with the IMF. He was kind of skittish about telling me. He said, I kind of think it might be tied to the IMF. I said, I think you're absolutely right, and that was the conclusion I came to. Because the Bretton Woods Conference enslaved 44 nations. If you don't know what Bretton Woods is, it's in New Hampshire. It's a big conference center up there. But in 1944, July 22nd, 1944, 44 nations agreed to take the U.S. dollar as the world reserve currency, and at that time they pegged all their currencies to the dollar. The dollar at that time was redeemable in gold. $35 could buy an ounce of gold at that time. And it also set up the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, and GATT, and the International Bank of Reconstruction and Development. So all the imbalance of trade would be done in dollars as well. And that's been the case ever since. So these nations have been under our boot heel since then. Every time we inflate our money, it costs all the nations of the world because the dollar, the U.S. dollar, is the world reserve currency. We've had a unfair playing field. We've been working these people over for nigh on to 70 years now. Well, back to the prophecies in the end times. I covered in the previous message also the Jubilees in our 70-year periods coming up here that we have. It looks like the end time Jubilee is 2017, and I covered this Rabbi Judah ben Samuel prophecy where he prophesies these Jubilees, and I'll put the link to the previous message. And I also covered in the previous message where Prince Charles thinks this is all over by 2017 too. He stated that in July 2009 that we only had 96 months to save the world. That Prince baby over there, he thinks he's going to, help save the world. I think he's going to be on the other side, and I don't think that means save people. I covered that too. And I covered in the previous message as well that the 70 weeks determined upon thy people Israel from Daniel 9:24, and from Daniel 9:26, the 62 weeks until the leader that comes, and he presides over the destruction of this end time Israelite nation, United States. And by the way, in Daniel 9:24, it lets you know there that the transgression, it's going to take 70 years to finish this transgression from the decree to restore and rebuild Jerusalem over there. That's 1947 when there's a decree from the United Nations. And you count off one generation or 70 weeks. I'm sorry, this one it's 70 weeks, 70 feasts of weeks, and you get to 2017. I covered in the previous message as well Matthew 24 and the parable of the fig tree nation, which same starting date, 1947, Israel's restored, the fig tree nation. And he says this generation will not pass. And in Psalm 90, verse 10, it tells you a generation is 70 years. So that takes you to 2017. And we're going to cover now, again, this Jeremiah passage with a more accurate starting date, and because it details when this is going to come to pass. So in this slide here, you'll see on the left-hand side, this is the Jeremiah 25 passage. If that kicks off the 70 years when all the 44 nations of the world went into bondage to us, they went into servitude. It says that these nations shall serve Babylon. Well, that's July 22nd, 1944. And if you count off 70 years, that takes you to July 23rd. The accomplishment of 70 years is July 23rd, 2014. And just what, a year and a half from now. I'm recording this at the beginning of 2013. And by the way, I think that Dewey's timeline is off from Daniel's timeline. Obviously, he's got 2013 things starting here in 2 months, and there's no temple to tear down over there, nothing like that. Of course, I don't think it's talking about the temple. But anyway, back to this. So that's the 70 years. So I did the calculation backwards based on the Daniel 8 prophecy that I shared previously as well in a video, where it says in 8:13 that the continual rebellion, people say the daily sacrifice, there's no word sacrifice in there. It just says daily or continual transgression, the continual rebellion of desolation to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden underfoot. So he's giving him this prophecy, and he tells them what it means too. He asks him in verse 16. He tells the angel, he says to make Gabriel to understand the vision. And then he describes the vision. He says what's going to happen. He says in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, that's the USA with our sodomite marriage, and a king of fierce countenance and understanding and dark sentences shall stand up, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power, and he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. Now the mighty and the holy people, the mighty is the USA, and the holy people, well, we're supposed to be it. We're Israelite nations, the Anglo-Saxon Israelite nations here come from the 12 tribes. So that's what he's talking about, is he's going to destroy the people. And he tells how long this is going to go on. He says that it's going to be for 2,300 mornings and nights. Yeah, in verse 14, he said unto me until 2,300 days, it says there. But if you read the Hebrew, it says evenings and mornings. And then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. Remember, he's not talking about a sanctuary temple over there. You're his sanctuary now. Well, if you're keeping his laws, if you're obedient and obeying him, keeping the Sabbath and his holy days and all the rest of his laws, his monetary laws and all the rest of it, marriage laws, all of his laws, then you're his temple. He will dwell in you. And that's one of the clear understandings I've covered previously as well. Well, when would this end then? Well, if you take trumpets, now when he returns in trumpets, you can read in Joel 2:32, at the fulfillment of trumpets, and if we go on the supposition that trumpets of 2017, which is September 22nd, is the fulfillment of trumpets, and it's all over then, and he returns with his angels and flaming fire at the trump and puts down the rebellion and the beast system and all that, well, you can count backwards 2,300 evenings and mornings. That's 1,150 days from September 22nd, 2017, from trumpets. And that's supposed to give you, according to this prophecy in Daniel 8, the destruction of Babylon. It says the destruction, right? The desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden underfoot. So the destruction is going to take place, and it says for how many days it's going to be like that, for 1,150 days, or 2,300 mornings and nights. Well, if you count back from that date, you get July 30th, 2014. That's 1,150 days earlier. That is exactly 7 days after the 70 years are accomplished of the Bretton Woods bondage. We'll pick this up in the next message and continue on.